Oh, honey, are you there?
I am here.
Hi.
Hi.
Are you ready for today's daily Bible podcast?
I am. Hi, everybody.
Heathens.
Are you guys ready for today's daily Bible podcast?
Yeah, because you know what? You're not gonna have to actually read this portion of the Bible. I have it condensed down verbatim from the Bible.
Verbatim
Condensed. Cliff's Notes.
I don't think you understand what verbatim means. You're not using this word properly.
No?
No.
I feel like this is going to be God's word right here, okay? You ready? Yeah. Okay. All right. So today we're going to build a temple, but next week we're going to get drunk and dedicate that motherfucker. Also, fuck Chapter 8. That chapter can act like it's Terminator Salvation or something. It can just never have happened, okay? Now,
we'll talk about Chapter 8. We go over Chapter 8 next week.
Oh, fuck it for this week.
Okay.
Now, Solly is being a lazy fuck. King Solomon. I call him Solly. And he hasn't started building the temple yet. So Solly then communicates with this Goodyear Tire King in the next county over. And apparently David got some friendly wood from him in the past, and now from the Tire King. And so Solly, he kind of wants a little bit of friendly dick. And the Tire King happily agrees. What? This is directly from God's mouth.
No, definitely not.
Solly then took a census and found some illegal aliens going on in his Israel kind of country there, and he made them slaves. Don't tell Trump this. He'll try to do the census. He'll try to make slaves out of the illegals here. Solly made sure to specifically say to force them to do labor to build the temple. So this is not any kind of indentured servitude or anything like that. They had whips and shit, and it was not for fun purposes. Well, I don't know. Maybe Solly used them for fun. So anyways, he put them aliens on chain gangs and made them break rocks and shit for the temple. And then Solly built these two giant gold naked angel things for who knows what reason. Probably big dick reasons. But they were in the temple. And he obviously is going to make a lot of time there. What?
You build giant gold things and rooms and shit for little dick reasons, honey.
Solly wanted to gaze upon the big dick angels, though. So, anyways, Solly has the little dick. He's looking at the big dicks on the statues.
What makes you think the statues have dicks?
Well, I mean, they're naked angels, and angels in all of the paintings from, the Middle Ages have dicks in them.
No, they don't.
The sculpture for, the David sculpture or whatnot?
Not an angel.
No, not an angel, but he had a dick.
Not a cherub. Not what we're talking about. These are two totally different things.
You're taking this way too seriously. Anyways... Solly had some feature creep going on with his whole temple thing, and it took him 7 years to build. This is kind of like Steve Jobs with the Lisa or Mac.
He did have feature creep.
And then Solly built this giant bath for a lot of people, but he restricted it to only men, which is kind of weird. Solly then also filed for a copyright on all sacrifices, claiming that they could only occur at this one particular temple that he enslaved illegal aliens to build. The end.
Wow. That was mostly terrible.
No, this is spot on. I mean, these are notes as you were telling me about what we're talking about today.
Right. I feel like you have... Maybe we could... Do they do, communication classes between two individuals to where maybe, when I'm talking, you listen?
What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? So, obviously I got the whole naked bathhouse thing wrong. There's probably a few other points that I need to be corrected on. So we're just going to go ahead and let Casey take it away and teach us some Bible shit today.
Okay, so today we're going to go through quite a bit, actually. And keep in mind, this is the Daily Bible, and it's a chronological order of the Bible. Okay, so stuff's not in the normal order that you would see it with the books, and some of the stuff is intertwined. So what we have today is a lot of 1 Kings, chapter 5, 6, 7, and 9, and then Chronicles, 2 Chronicles, chapter 2, 3, and 4. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're interlaced. So when I read stuff,
see, you say I don't pay attention, but I wrote down the chapters correctly, and I made sure to make note that we're fucking chapter 8 this week.
Well, actually, I had to correct you that you just said fuck chapter 8 in general. We're actually looking over that next week.
Well, you know, this week is the only week that matters right now.
Okay. So, for example, when I start off, I might read, like, the first sentence in this is from Chronicles. The second sentence is from Kings. So it kind of goes back and forth, but what it's trying to do is give you the story of the temple building. But it's broken up throughout different books because they repeat stuff and things like that. It just, different parts get broken up into different areas.
Let's just stitch this shit together, shall we?
Yeah. Well, that's what they had to do, because the way the story is told in the Bible, which is one of the reasons why it's really hard to read. The Old Testament especially is super hard to read because it jumps all around. And so putting all of the stories together in a way that makes sense chronologically kind of gives you this
stitching.
Mishmash.
Yeah.
But it actually makes it a whole lot easier to read and go through the story and for people to understand it.
Well, and I mean, honestly, I would rather understand, like, the story that the Old Testament's trying to tell us rather than a literal reading book to book to book and then have to, like, piece it together ourselves. Like, I do appreciate the stitching effort made by this book.
Well, yeah, because here's the deal. Once you read through 1st and 2nd Kings, like right now, some of the stuff we're going over with the building of the temple, that's in 1 Kings. Well, then you read 2 Kings, 1 Chronicles, and then 2 Chronicles. And the other stuff about the temple is in 2 Chronicles. So, like, you've already had to read through 2 other chapters before you get to other stuff about the thing you read about 2 chapters ago. So this makes a whole lot more logical sense.
Yeah, it does.
For the flow. So there's actually quite a bit to go through, so you ready to get into it?
Yes, I will try to keep my banter to a minimum so that we can move through this swiftly.
Okay. So last time we had Solomon was blessed with wisdom, if you remember that, discernment, right?
Yeah.
To be able to tell right and wrong. He executed some people, secured his kingship. So now it's been over 3 years. And we're gonna jump in here. Solomon gave orders to build a temple for the name of the Lord and a royal palace for himself. When Hyrum, king of Tyre, heard that Solomon had been anointed king to succeed his father David, he sent his envoys to Solomon because he had always been on friendly terms with David. If you don't remember, King Hyrum provided lumber for King David to build his palace in Jerusalem when he became king. Mm-hmm. And moved to Jerusalem. Okay, so Solomon sent back this message to Hyrum. You know that because of the wars waged against my father David from all sides, he could not build a temple for the name of the Lord, his God, until the Lord put his enemies under his feet. But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side, and there is no adversary or disaster. I intend, therefore, to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord told my father David when he said, your son, whom I will put on the throne in your place, will build the temple for my name. Solomon sent this message to Hyrum, king of Tyre. Okay. So he continues, send me cedar logs as you did for my father David when you sent him cedar to build a palace to live in. Now I am about to build a temple for the name of the Lord my God and to dedicate it to him for burning fragrant incense before him, for setting out the consecrated bread regularly, and for making burnt offerings every morning and evening and on the Sabbaths and new moons and at the appointed feasts of the Lord our God. This is the lasting ordinance from Israel. The temple I am going to build will be great, because our God is greater than all other gods. But who is able to build a temple for him, since the heavens even the highest heavens cannot contain him. Who then am I to build a temple for him, except as a place to burn sacrifices before him? Send me, therefore, a man skilled to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, and in purple, crimson, and blue yarn, and experienced in the art of engraving, to work in Judah and Jerusalem with my skilled craftsmen, whom my father David provided. Send me also cedar, pine, and algum. And if you don't know, algum is a variant of almug, which is possibly juniper. So, okay. Logs from Lebanon, for I know that your men are skilled in cutting timber there. My men will work with yours to provide me with plenty of lumber, because the temple I build must be large and magnificent. I will give your servants, the woodsmen who cut the timber, 20,000 cores, which... I'll explain here in a second. 20,000 cores of ground wheat, and 20,000 cores of barley. Now, 20,000 is about 125,000 bushels. Okay, so it's a lot. So giving them ground wheat and barley. 20,000 baths of wine and 20,000 baths of olive oil. 20,000 baths is about 115,000 gallons. It's a lot. A lot of wine, a lot of olive oil, a lot of ground wheat, and a lot of barley.
Right.
Okay, so that's what he's giving them in exchange for
skilled workers,
skilled labor, and timber.
Right.
So
gotta get that wood.
It's true. So Hyrum, king of Tyre, replied in a letter to Solomon, "Because the Lord loves his people, he has made you their king. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who made heaven and earth. He has given King David a wise son, endowed with intelligence and discernment, who will build a temple for the Lord and a palace for himself. I am sending you Hyrum Abi, a man of great skill, whose mother was from Dan and whose father was from Tyre. He is trained to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, stone and wood, and with purple and blue and crimson yarn and fine linen. He is experienced in all kinds of engraving and can execute any design given to him. He will work with your craftsmen and with those of my lord, David your father. Now let my lord send his servants the wheat and barley and the olive oil and wine he promised, and we will cut all of the logs from Lebanon that you need, and will float them in rafts by sea down to Joppa." It might be Hoppa. I'm not sure. You know how they are with J's.
Yeah.
You can take them up to Jerusalem. So this was a mutually profitable arrangement here that they had. So in this way, Hyrum kept Solomon supplied with all the cedar and pine logs he wanted, and Solomon gave Hyrum 20,000 cores of wheat as food for his household, in addition to 20,000 baths of pressed olive oil. Solomon continued to do this for Hyrum year after year. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom, just as he had promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hyrum and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty. All right?
Okay.
So King Solomon conscripted laborers from all Israel, 30,000 men. He sent them off to Lebanon in shifts of 10,000 a month, so that they spent 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adoniram was in charge of the forced labor. Solomon took a census of all the aliens who were in Israel after the census his father David had taken, and they were found to be 153,600. He assigned 70,000 of them to be carriers and 80,000 to be stone cutters in the hills, with 3,600 foremen over them to keep the people working. At the king's command, they removed from the quarry large blocks of quality stone to provide a foundation of dressed stone for the temple. The craftsmen of Solomon and Hyrum and the men of Gebal cut and prepared the timber and stone for building the temple.
That's that's so weird in it to think like one day you're just living at home and you get a knock on the door and it's like, hey, you now cut stone for a living. Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I work down the street and I can't just give up my job. So.
Oh yeah, but you're going to, and you're also going to go to Lebanon for a month.
What the fuck, Lebanon?
That's what he did in shifts of 10,000 a month. So they spent 1 month in Lebanon, 2 months at home. 1 month in Lebanon, 2 months at home.
Well, right. It's just, it seems It's just, I don't know. It just seems so crazy to me that just one day, like, even though you don't want to, you're forced to do this. Because I can't imagine somebody knocking on the door and be like, hey, you're going to go and cut wood. And it's like, fuck
I'm an
you,
engineer.
I'm not. I'm an engineer. I'm like learned in shit.
Well, so they aren't Israelites. So they don't have the same rights. Even though they're living in the land, they aren't considered the same.
Shh. Do not tell Trump this. I made that note specifically in my opening thing. Do not tell Trump that the Bible condones conscripting illegal aliens in your country and forcing them into labor.
Yeah.
He will definitely use that up.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you ready? We have stone. We have wood. Are you ready for construction?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So, in the 480th year after the Israelites had come out of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, the 2nd month, he began to build the temple. Then Solomon began to build the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to his father David. It was on the threshing floor of Araunah, the Jebusite, the place provided by David. Okay, so that's the place David said he wanted it built. Okay. Mm-hmm. The word of the Lord came to Solomon. As for this temple you are building, if you follow my decrees, carry out my regulations, and keep all my commands and obey them, I will fulfill through you the promise I gave David your father, and I will live among the Israelites and will not abandon my people, Israel. Okay. The temple that King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits long, 20 wide, and 30 high. So that's 90 feet by 30 feet by 45 feet. So the thing was kind of big. Like, it was 4.5 stories high. Yeah, it was not a small thing.
Right.
Okay. He paneled the main hall with pine and covered it with fine gold and decorated it with palm tree and chain designs. He adorned the temple with precious stones, and the gold he used was gold of Parvaim, which just basically means Oriental. It was gold from the Orient.
Oh, okay. Fancy gold.
Fancy gold. He overlaid the ceiling beams, door frames, walls, and doors of the temple with gold. The inside of the temple was cedar carved with gourds and open flowers. Everything was cedar, and no stone was to be seen. Okay? In building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used. No hammer, chisel, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built. The portico at the front of the temple was 20 cubits long across the width of the building and 20 cubits high. That's 20 cubits is 30 feet, just to give you an idea. Mm-hmm. He overlaid the inside with pure gold. He made narrow, clear-story windows in the temple. Clear-story windows, if you don't know, are windows that are on high walls above your eyesight. So basically, you're going to let light in up high. But they're not like windows for you to look out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Against the walls of the main hall and inner sanctuary, he built a structure around the building, in which there were 6 side rooms. The lowest floor was 5 cubits wide, the middle floor 6 cubits, and the third floor 7. So it's kind of like an upside-down pyramid kind of deal.
That's weird.
It's narrower at the bottom and bigger at the top. He made offset ledges around the outside of the temple that nothing would be inserted into the temple walls. The entrance to the lowest floor was on the south side of the temple, and a stairway led up to the middle level and from there to the third. He built the side rooms all along the temple. The height of each was 5 cubits, which is like, I think 5 cubits was like 7.5 feet. Mm-hmm. And they were attached to the temple beams of to the temple by beams of cedar. He also overlaid the upper parts with gold. So this is for the most holy place, your inner sanctuary, okay? He partitioned off 20 cubits at the rear of the temple with cedar boards from floor to ceiling to form within the temple an inner sanctuary, the most holy place. The main hall in front of this room was 40 cubits long, which is 60 feet. Now, this area was going to be the area for the Ark of the Covenant, right? This was the most holy place. Mm-hmm. Most people never got to go to the most holy place. Okay. He prepared the inner sanctuary within the temple to set the Ark of the Covenant from the Lord. Sorry, I said that a little earlier. For the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord there. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. So the room was 30 feet by 30 feet by 30 feet. Mm-hmm. Okay. He overlaid the inside with pure gold, and he also overlaid the altar of cedar. Solomon covered the inside of the temple with pure gold, and he extended gold chains across the front of the inner sanctuary, which was overlaid with gold. So he overlaid the whole interior with gold. The gold nails weighted 50 shekels. So each of these gold nails, 1.25 pounds.
Like, I mean, did Donald Trump go back into the past and like build a temple?
I know if you see the famous pictures of him in his apartment with like Melania and Barron, and they're in the they have like pictures of just the apartment out there. I can't remember what magazine it was in, but pictures of just the apartment and all that gold and everything's covered in gold.
God.
This is the temple.
I don't know. That just makes me like I really don't like gold like things. I don't. But I think that it just looks like tacky, like you're trying too hard or something.
Yeah.
And like I think that if I was an Israelite and I walked into the temple, I'd be like, "Yo, guys."
This is gaudy AF.
Yeah, holy fuck. Can we get like some color in here? Not just all this fucking gold in my face?
Well, they are going to have color on the curtains.
Oh, the curtains. Mm-hmm. But Jebediah, the curtains.
The curtains are going to be the blue and purple and red and linen. The yarn and linen curtains that they make. Yeah. So you're going to have those curtains. But this was what I think is probably the one thing I would really want to see in regards to the building of the thing. So in the inner sanctuary, he made a pair of cherubim of olive wood. So he used olive wood to craft these cherubim. Each were 10 cubits high. 10 cubits is 15 feet, okay? One of the wings of the first cherub was 5 cubits long, which is 7.5 feet, and the other wing is 5 cubits long, which is 7.5 feet. Mm-hmm. So it's 15 feet tall, and from wingtip to wingtip is 15 feet wide. There's 2 of these sons of bitches in this room, okay? Second...
I mean, I wonder why he built these things. Like, I know I was funny about it in my intro, but... It's kind of like, what the fuck? Well, why are these here?
It's probably to mirror, you know how the cherubs are on the ends of the ark?
Yeah.
So it's probably like to mimic the Ark of the Covenant. The whole room is like a giant Ark of the Covenant, kind of, because it's got the cherubs.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can see that, but at the same time, it's like, yo, dude, like... compensate much. This is a lot like the guys that drive down the street and they have like either huge engines or huge mufflers or something like that.
Yeah.
They rev their engine and it's like, got a little dick.
Yeah. Every time I see those, I like look over and I'm like, sorry about your dick, bro.
This is the Israelite way of revving your engine, having giant fucking cherubs in your living room.
Yeah. So, well, this is the inner sanctuary.
Well, no, I understand that.
Yes. So, again, 15 feet tall, 15 feet wide. So, he placed the cherubim inside the innermost room of the temple. And here's the thing that's interesting to me. I don't know if how many of you have seen olive wood. But it is beautiful. Like when it's finished and when it's like treated and finished and it has like a sheen over it, like it's, kind of shiny. Mm-hmm. It is really, really pretty. And so it's kind of frustrating that he built these out of olive wood and then covered them in gold. Like, they would have been more beautiful, though more simplistic looking and not as gaudy and fancy. They would have been quite beautiful, I'm sure, in olive wood. So anyway, he placed the cherubim inside the innermost room of the temple with their wings spread out. The wing of one cherub touched one wall, while the wing of the other touched the other wall, and their wings touched each other in the middle of the room. He overlaid the cherubim with gold. The wings of these cherubim extended 20 cubits, which is 30 feet, and stood on their feet facing the main hall. He made the curtain of blue, purple, and crimson yarn and fine linen with cherubim worked into it. Okay, so it had like cherubim like in gold thread like throughout the... Okay. He lined its interior with walls with cedar boards, paneling them from the floor of the temple to the ceiling, and covered the floors of the temple with planks of pine. On the walls all around the temple, in both inner and outer rooms, he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He also covered the floors of both the inner and outer rooms of the temple with gold. For the entrance of the inner sanctuary, he made doors of olive wood with 5-sided jambs. On the two olive wood doors, he carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid the cherubim and palm trees with beaten gold. In the same way, he made 4-sided jambs of olive wood for the entrance to the main hall. He also made 2 pine doors, each having leaves that turned in sockets. He carved cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers on them, and overlaid them with gold hammered evenly over the carvings. The foundation of the temple of the Lord was laid in the 4th year, in the month of Ziv, which we saw was the 2nd month, right? Mm-hmm. In the 11th year, in the month of Bul, which is the 8th month, the temple was finished in all its details according to its specifications. He had spent 7 years building it, which technically it would be 7.5 years. Right. Because they started in the 2nd month, ended in the 8th month, so that would be 7.5.
Let's see, the 8th month is what? That's
August.
That's August? Mm-hmm. So their August was
August
called...
now.
I know it's August now, but their August would be called Bul?
B-U-L.
It's like, what month do you leave for Lebanon, Bul?
Well, I mean, the 2nd month is called Ziv.
Ziv?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what all of the months were called. Like,
I don't know. We could probably look that up.
I wonder if they had like 30 months in a year or something.
I mean, they had a calendar, so
yeah,
we could look it up. Okay, so King Solomon sent to Tyre and brought Hyrum, whose mother was a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and whose father was a man of Tyre and a craftsman in bronze. Hyrum was highly skilled and experienced in all kinds of bronze work. He came to King Solomon and did all the work assigned to him. He cast 2 bronze pillars, each 18 cubits high and 12 cubits around. So they're 27 feet tall, these pillars. Mm-hmm. 27 feet tall and 18 feet around.
So you're saying that it's smaller than my girth?
What? John, this is the Bible podcast. Welcome. We can talk about your penis later. He also made 2 capitals of cast bronze to set on the tops of the pillars. If you don't know what capitals are, they're like ornamental, like they can be globular or whatever. They're ornamental tops for pillars.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know that. Today I learned.
Yeah. So that's a capital. To set on the tops of the pillars, each capital was 5 cubits high. A network of interwoven chains festooned the capitals on top. And I don't know, you know what festooned means?
No. Does it look like I know what festooned means?
Well, I mean, I just was checking. I figure if you said no, I would explain it. So festooned basically is like adorned or decorated. So a network of interwoven chains kind of adorned the capital on the top. So like the top of this ornamental thing that was on the pillar had gold chains, like decorating it. Okay. Kind of like braided interwoven. Okay. So there were 7 of these for each capital. He made pomegranates in 2 rows, encircling each network to decorate the capitals on the top of the pillars. He did the same for each capital. The capital on the top of the pillars in the portico were in the shape of lilies. Okay, so they weren't globular, they were in the shape of lilies. Okay, so these were giant fucking pillars with big fucking lilies on top.
Lilies are flowers, right?
Yes.
So he built giant pillars with flowers on them?
Yes.
Okay.
And the lilies were 4 cubits high, on which 4 cubits is, how much is 4 cubits? About 6, I guess about 6 feet tall is 4 cubits. Is that right?
I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about 6 feet high, because 5 cubits is 7.5.
Oh, okay.
So 4 cubits would be around 6.
All right.
Okay. On the capitals of both pillars, above the bowl-shaped part next to the network of interwoven chains, were the 200 pomegranates in rows all around. He erected the pillars at the portico of the temple. The pillar to the south he named Jechin, and the one to the north Boaz. The capitals on top were in the shape of lilies, which we already saw, and so the work on the pillars was completed. So these were the pillars that went on the portico, which was like the porch to the front of the temple. Okay. This guy Hyrum also, which is not to be confused with the king that we talked about earlier, who is Hyrum. This is a different person.
This is a doppelganger.
Well, it's weird. He's the same guy who made the pillars. He also made a bronze altar 20 cubits long, 20 cubits wide, and 10 cubits high. He also made the sea of cast metal. And what?
I was just thinking, like, the contractors in this area probably were ecstatic to hear that Solomon was going to be building a temple.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's like, I'm going to build a temple. Oh, shit, you say. Well, my rates just jumped up about 10%.
So the sea, if you don't know what the sea is, SEA, like, ocean sea, is a ritual wash basin, but it's giant. Okay, it's big.
This is where all the men's go to wash themselves.
No, it's a ritual wash basin. It's not for like men washing their dicks. It's not what this is for.
What?
Yeah, it's not a public bath.
It's what it kind of sounded like when we talked about it before, but okay.
We're back to the whole me talking and you listening to actually what I'm saying. Okay. So anyway, this sea is circular in shape, measuring 10 cubits from rim to rim and 5 cubits high. So it's 7.5 feet tall. And around it, it's 15 feet around. Okay. It took a line of 30 cubits. It took a line of 30 cubits to measure around it. So it's more than 10 cubits. That's from rim to rim.
Okay.
Okay, so 30 cubits around.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, hey, that plays into the whole pi thing, because the Bible has pi, and it's incorrect.
Yes, and actually, that's mentioned not in here, but I was looking up something else. Oh, when I was trying to figure out what the fuck a sea is, because I didn't actually know what it was. Based on their description, it seemed to me like a kind of like a baptism. Well, it came across as like, how some churches have like a fountain area where they do a baptism. I thought that's me. And I know they didn't do like that, like this here. I'm just saying, I thought it was kind of like a fountain, but it's not really. It's a ritual wash basin for when they do sacrifices and stuff.
You understand when you say ritual wash basin, I think about guys going in there and washing up for the ritual.
Honey, I'm glad that when I say ritual wash basin, you think of men bathing together.
No, okay, look, no, I am not thinking about men bathing together.
I mean, that's what you said.
I know it's what I said, But I'm saying, like, when you say a ritual wash basin, it's in the context of, like, cult type of, like, thing. Mm-hmm. And so it's not me that wants it to be that way. I'm just saying that's what it sounds like.
Well, you could probably look these up on the internet and see what they do in the ritual for sacrifices and things.
Are women allowed to be priests?
No.
Okay. Are women allowed to, like, clean the ritual sacrifices and everything like that? Where women weren't allowed to do any of that, right?
No. But it's not men washing their bodies.
Well, I mean, don't they have to be clean inside of the Lord?
Oh, for God's sake. Okay, can we please continue?
Yeah, we can. Sorry.
Okay. Below the rim, figures of bulls encircled it, 10 to a cubit. The bulls were cast in 2 rows, one piece with the sea. The sea stood on 12 bulls, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. The sea rested on top of them, and their hindquarters were toward the center. It was a handbreadth in thickness, which is, let's see, what is a handbreadth? 3 inches. It was 3 inches thick. Okay. You're a pervert.
I just laughed.
And its rim was like the rim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 3,000 baths, which is 17,500 gallons of water. He placed the sea on the south side at the southeast corner to be used by the priests for washing.
Okay. Washing sacrifices, right?
Or I don't know. Probably because they had to wash all of the gold shit and the plates and all that other shit. I don't know if that's what they used to wash in, or I don't know.
I mean, I can imagine a lot of people getting like some kind of metal poisoning or something like that.
But it was 7.5 feet tall, and it sat on top of these giant fucking bowls, so it was like really tall. They would have needed a fucking ladder to get it in.
Yeah, I mean, was it that deep too? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the basin, it was 7.5
I don't know why you need that much in order to wash fucking dead animals.
I don't know. I'm not super familiar with this whole ritualistic washing. It's something that we can look up at another time, if you'd like.
Okay.
He also made 10 movable stands of bronze. Each was 4 cubits long, 4 wide, and 3 high. This is how the stands were made. They had side panels attached to the uprights. On the panels between the uprights were lions, bulls, and cherubim. On the uprights as well. Above and below the lions and bulls were wreaths of hammered work. Each stand had 4 bronze wheels with bronze axles, and each had a basin resting on 4 supports, cast with wreaths on each side. On the inside of the stand, there was an opening that had a circular frame 1 cubit deep. This opening was round, and with its base work, it measured 1.5 cubits. Around its opening, there was engraving. The panels of the stands were square, not round. The 4 wheels were under the panels, and axles of the wheels were attached to the stand. The diameter of each wheel was 1.5 cubits. The wheels were made like chariot wheels. The axles, rims, spokes, and hubs were all of cast metal. Each had 4 handles, 1 on each corner, projecting from the stand. At the top of the stand, there was a circular band 0.5 cubit deep. The supports and panels were attached to the top of the stand. He engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees on the surface of the supports and on the panels, and in every available space, with wreaths all around. This was the way he made the 10 stands. They were all cast in the same molds and were all identical in size and shape. He then made 10 bronze basins, each holding 40 baths and measuring 4 cubits across, 1 basin to go on each of the 10 stands. He placed 5 of the stands on the south side of the temple and 5 on the north. In them, the things to be used for burnt offerings were rinsed.
Okay. You see, I would have just compressed all that down to like Solly bedazzled the fuck out of this shit and then made smaller versions of the sea.
Well, here's what I don't understand. why is this included in canon? Like,
you mean the bedazzling?
This is ridiculous. You include all of this, but you can't include don't rape people.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why this is so important.
Because they were fine with men raping women.
I still don't understand why this is important. This does not change anything. This doesn't do anything. This doesn't teach you anything. I don't understand the purpose of this entire thing.
It teaches you to obey God with only the best bedazzled shit out there.
Apparently. Are you ready to learn about the courtyards?
Oh, fuck yes, the courtyards. Does he bedazzle those too?
Yeah. And he built the inner courtyard of 3 courses of dressed stone and 1 course of trimmed cedar beams. He made the courtyard of the priests and the large court and the doors for the court and overlaid the doors with bronze. He also made the basins and shovels and sprinkling bowls. This is Hyrum again. Mm-hmm. So Hyrum finished all of the work he had undertaken for King Solomon in the temple of the Lord. The 2 pillars, the 2 bowl-shaped capitals on top of the pillars, the 2 sets of network decorating the 2 bowl-shaped capitals on the top of the pillars, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 sets of the networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network decorating the bowl-shaped capitals on the top of the pillars, the 10 stands with their 10 basins, the sea and the 12 bowls under it, the pots, shovels, and sprinkling bowls. All these objects Hyrum made for the king for the temple of the Lord were of burnished bronze. The king had them cast in clay molds in the plain of the Jordan between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all these things unweighed because there were so many. The weight of the bronze was undetermined.
Do you know what my favorite biblical city is?
Succoth?
Yes.
That's not shocking. All right, are we ready to talk about gold?
Wait. We're just now talking about it? We were already talking about gold and bedazzling and shit.
Well, these are the golden vessels.
Oh, shit.
That other stuff we talked about was all bronze.
Oh, okay.
Except for him coating everything in gold.
except him basically using gold like it was a paint.
Yeah. Okay, so Solomon also made all of the furnishings that were in the Lord's temple. The golden altar, the golden table on which was the bread of the presence, the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the right and 5 on the left in front of the inner sanctuary, the gold floral work, and lamps and tongs, the pure gold basins, wick trimmers, sprinkling bowls, dishes, and censers, and the gold sockets for the doors of the innermost room, the most holy place, and also for the doors of the main hall of the temple. He made 10 tables and placed them in the temple, 5 on the south side and 5 on the north. He also made 100 gold sprinkling bowls. When all of the work King Solomon had done for the temple of the Lord was finished, he brought in the things his father David had dedicated, the silver and the gold and the furnishings. He then placed them in the treasuries of the Lord, in the treasuries of the Lord's temple. Okay. So we're done now with that.
Yay!
But not for the day.
Fuck!
On the altar of the Lord that he had built in front of the portico, Solomon sacrificed burnt offerings to the Lord according to the daily requirement for offerings commanded by Moses for Sabbaths, new moons, and the 3 annual feasts, the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. In keeping with the ordinance of his father David, he appointed the divisions of the priests for their duties, and the Levites to lead the praise and assist the priests according to each day's requirement. He also appointed the gatekeepers by divisions for the various gates, because this was what David, the man of God, had ordered. They did not deviate from the king's commands to the priests nor to the Levites in any manner, including that of the treasuries. All Solomon's work was carried out from the day the foundation of the temple of the Lord was laid until its completion, so the temple of the Lord was finished.
Finally! God damn, it took you long enough, Solly.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was a lot. But next week, we're going to dedicate the temple.
Yay!
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we break a champagne bottle on it, right? Whatever the fuck they had back
exactly.
then.
That's not exactly how it worked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, heathens, I hope you'll join us next week when we get drunk and we dedicate this shit
I will not be getting
to
drunk.
God
You
or
can get
something.
drunk.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, if you will, heathens, leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear what you think about all this bedazzling shit and the naked cherubs. And I guess we'll see you heathens next week.
Don't forget to stand up and use your voice.
Bye, heathens.
Bye, y'all.